So thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone who's viewing. We have a very exciting presentation coming up for you now from Henry Global. We are joined by Kathy Rue, who is an immigration consultant. She has 25 years of experience working in immigration consulting at Henry Global. Today she will present on navigating the Canadian immigration system. All roads lead to Rome can be the very true reflection of Canada's immigration programs. Some programs are administered by federal, other by provincial governments. Some others are selected by skills and/or occupations. Some provide special pathways to foreign students. Others favor the transition from foreign temporary workers. There are special programs for entrepreneurs, self-employed, and employer sponsorships. So the question Kathy will answer is how to choose your way or the highway or in some other expressway to Canada. With over 25 years of experience as a certified immigration consultant, Kathy Rue will guide you navigating the Canadian immigration system, highlight some of the recent changes and trends and perspectives and insights behind the success in the selection process. Thank you again, Kathy, so much for being here. We really look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. It's so nice to be back here. I think I was here last year, so I need to update myself first. This is my 26 years being an immigration consultant. I'm really, really proud of being in this profession. I hope the page down is working, and this is me. I have been doing this since 1996, and I really love this profession. I'm a Chinese Canadian. I was born and grew up in China, but I'm a Canadian now. I think Canada, honestly, is the best country to live in the whole world, and I don't accept any challenges. I also think the Canadian immigration system is the best in the world because within our group, it's now called the Henry Group, we also cover the United States, Australia, some of the European countries, even some of the Caribbean countries, the passport programs. But with all the comparison, I honestly believe Canada's most advanced immigration policy is the best for people who really want to have a career and also care about their family and care about the overall quality of life. Canada is the best, and also don't accept any challenges here. Canada is number one. So our company covers, I just briefly introduced our company. We started in 1992. I started in 1996, so this is my 26th year in this industry. With all the great things I can say about the Canadian immigration system, there is one thing that is kind of like a little harder for a person who first trying to research some immigration policy is the policy is a little complicated, but that's where I can help you. Okay, I can make the complicated things easier for you to understand, so you don't have to get lost in this whole system. For today's purpose, I want to focus on what I think is most relevant for this group of people who will come to Canada, want to look for a job, wants to establish themselves here. So I will talk about Canada, how Canada needs skilled workers, which means highly educated people who can come here and join the workforce right away. The language that we speak here in Canada is English and French. So by being ready to establish yourself in here, there are some criteria. I will help you navigate through this so you don't get lost. And I'll also give you some points on how to improve your scores. If you go through the selection and you find out, oh, I'm a little short of the selection grid, how do you improve your scores? And I'll also touch upon something called global talent stream, which is for those people who may not want to think about immigrate to Canada, but just want to come and find a job here and just need a work visa. I'll touch on that one. So this is what I want to cover in today's session. First of all, the message Canada is sending out to the whole world is Canada welcomes immigrant. We really, really do. Canada has an aging population. Even I am thinking about retirement. Within the next 10 years, I have to retire. Don't get fooled by my voice, but I'm actually probably older than you think. So with low birth rate in Canada, so the only way and the most effective way for Canada to maintain its workforce is to welcome immigrants. And we have a very developed immigration policy, and the Immigration Department has an annual report that they report to the Parliament every year and outlining how they have done last year and what their future plan is for the next 3 years. And even in each categories, how do they want to allocate the number of immigrants we want to welcome to Canada? For example, in the next 3 years, 2022, 2023, and 2024, about more than half of the total immigration numbers are going to what they call it the economic class. What is economics class is economically, means financially, these applicants, these immigrants will be able to establish themselves in Canada without outside help. In other words, these people are not government-sponsored refugees. These people are not privately sponsored family members. These people do not need anybody else's help. They can come to Canada and support themselves. These are called economic class. And the economic class consists of more than half of the whole immigration numbers. So this is the biggest class that Canada welcomes. We really need these people. Now, some of you might think, why Canada? Why don't go to United States? Why don't go to Northern European countries? As I said, Canada is best for family, and is also good for young children, young people. Especially, we have the world's most advanced education system. We have some of the best universities in the whole world. When you put up 100 list of top 100 universities, you can see some of the Canadian universities here, like Toronto University, UBC, Waterloo. The whole world knows about University of Waterloo. The Silicon Valley companies come here every year and recruit our students before they even graduate. McGill and lots of these universities are world famous. And also, you're not just here for education, right? You're here for the overall. You want to see the whole package. In Canada, we have the most admired, by the whole world, most admired education system and healthcare. We have healthcare that covers all the costs you need, from seeing a doctor to getting an MRI to going to the hospital. And we also have childcare benefits. We have employment insurance to help those people who are in need, who are vulnerable. And we have the best social system for the seniors. My parents are in their 80s. Not only they have their healthcare free, they also have their medicines covered by the healthcare. So that's something people will have a peace of mind thinking, okay, when I'm getting old, when I cannot work anymore, this country is the best place for me to live forever. So that's an overall package. But when you do come to look at, say, oh, I'm impressed. Okay, I'm happy. I want to come to Canada. When you open up the immigration's website, when you look at all the programs that you could consider, you might get lost. Okay, even I get lost. I've been doing this for 26 years. Even I get lost. There's so many programs. I've only listed some of them I'm most familiar with, but this is probably only half of it. I purposely use different font and different size just to confuse you. Yes, because this is how you will feel when you go into the CSE website. Excuse me. And you're going to say, what am I looking for? Yes, I will help you. You're not looking into all of these. I'll help you what you most likely will look at. So for today's purpose, I'll introduce what is Federal Skilled Workers Program and what is Canadian class. Actually, under the skilled workers, there's also a Provincial Nominee program, which I will talk about separately. Federal Skilled Workers Program is a federal program. It's most asked program. Before this session even started, I think there is someone who posted a question on there, asked me to check out his LinkedIn profile to see if he qualifies. He's 33 years old. Yes, I looked at your LinkedIn profile. You're a really good candidate. Your French language test is level 8. You should seriously consider Federal Skilled Worker Program. This is a program for people who do not have any Canadian work experience, people who are from another country, people who have not earned any Canadian experience. A similar program is the Canadian Experience class. The name itself had given out the core of this program is this is for people who have worked in Canada for at least 1 year. For at least 1 year. So for those of you who are here looking for a job, if you get a job, if you work in Canada for 1 year, you may qualify for this Canadian Experience class. It's called CEC by short form. So these are the two most asked. About 80% of my calls end up in these two categories. There's also skilled trade and entrepreneur. I'll touch on that, but I won't go into details. So for those who are considering immigrating to Canada, you first have to do a self-assessment. A self-assessment focuses on these 6 factors. You just have to answer these questions. What is your age? The age is from 24 years old to 30 years old. You get the full points. But once you're over 30, your points started to decrease. At some point, you will earn 0 points for your age. You can tell right off the bat, Canada is looking for young people, right? So age, your level of education for that person who has master's degree, yes, you're a good candidate just right off the bat based on your education, I know that. And your work experience, how many years have you worked in your industry? And whether you have a valid job offer or not. You don't have to have a job offer to qualify, but if you do have a valid job offer, it's endorsed by LIMIA, and you can get bonus points, either 50 points or 200 points. I'll give you an example later on. You will see how that changes your position in the selection grid. And of course, English or French language skill and your adaptability. If you have any relatives in here, if you have ever studied in Canada, if you have ever worked in Canada, all of these connections with Canada will give you some points that you can add on. So after the self-assessment, if you pass, the total is 100. If you pass 67, that means your self-assessment is successful. Then you can enter into something, we call it the pool. Okay, it's a pool. You express your interest in coming to Canada, you list your factors, you list your criteria there, and then you wait to be invited. You wait to be invited. That's basically the process. Whether you are a federal skilled worker or your Canadian experience class, you enter the same pool. We call that pool Express Entry Pool. Short form is EE, Express Entry. So that's basically what you have to look at before you enter. Now, specifically, for those people who have 1 year, minimum 1 year of work experience, the key here is the job experience has to be in Canada. I've been challenged many times. Oh, I have 10 months. Can I enter? No. Wait until you have 12 months. Okay. Of course, it counts actually by hours. On the CIC website, there are very specific ways to help you calculate. You may have worked for 1 year, but if your hours do not total to the hour, you still don't qualify. If you have the hours, but it's not 12 months, you need to go through that checklist to see if you can apply. And there's minimum language ability that you have to qualify. Okay, and this is some of the minimums. You can check on the CIC website to see. It guides you through every single step. So if you qualify for the language ability, you definitely can understand all those criteria on the CIC website. I'll briefly touch on the skilled trade because I really want to give you some examples on the skilled workers. The skilled trade in Canada, when we call the trade, we don't talk about international trade or the trade on the stock market. That's not the way we talk about here. When we say skilled trade, we're talking about electricians, plumbers, people who work in laying the floors, hardwood floors, or butchers. These what we call it the trade. So they have separate groups, so you have to fit into one of the groups. And for the federal skilled trade program, you must have a job offer. That's one of the requirements. You must have a job offer. Entrepreneur, I won't talk today. Entrepreneur is a very, very complicated program. So if any of you say, I want to be an entrepreneur in Canada, I want to apply Ontario or Saskatchewan, I highly recommend you hire a professional. You don't have to hire me. You can hire a lawyer. You can hire other consultant. But entrepreneur program is very complicated. I have never seen anybody who can DIY a entrepreneur. DIY means do it yourself. I have never seen an applicant who can do a DIY on entrepreneur. It's so complicated. The last case I worked on, the additional document, the immigration officer asked for additional document. That letter alone is 21 pages. It's 21 pages. So you definitely need someone to help you if you an entrepreneur. And if you really are an entrepreneur, you know you can spend your time better elsewhere. You don't want to have this kind of headache. Okay, so entrepreneurs, don't try this. This is the page. If you care to use your phone to take a snapshot, you can. This is a comparison of the three programs: the Canadian Experience Class, the Federal Skilled Workers, and the Federal Skilled Trade. It lists the language skill that you have to have, the type of work experience you have to have. When we say 0, A and B, we're referring to National Occupation Classification, or we call it the NOC. 0, A, B stands for the level. 0 is management level, A is professional level, like engineers, B is professional skill level, for example, technicians or technologists. You have to be at least in one of these levels. If you're in D, for example, labor, you're delivering pizza, that probably wouldn't qualify. So this is a summary kind of, and for those programs. Now, this is the interesting part. I know you guys are waiting for this. I'll give you some examples, and you can compare these examples with yourself and see if it can help you understand this better. Okay. The first example I'm using, I'm going to call him John Doe. He's 24 years old, recently graduated from University of Waterloo. He has 1 year software engineer work experience in Toronto, and Toronto is in Canada. So right off the bat, you know, okay, 1 year job experience in Canada, this person probably qualifies for Canadian Experience Class, right? And he has no relative in Canada. He has taken his English language test, and his listening, speaking, writing, and reading are 8777. And so by using the CRS score, he estimated himself to be at 462 points. This is his score in the EE pool. We call it the pool, express entry pool. What does 462 points mean for John Doe? What does it mean? 462, does he have a chance or not? What does 462 points mean? Okay, this is the Canadian Experience Class round of invitation in 2021. This may not make very much sense, but look at the next chart. My wonderful assistant helped me make this chart. In 2021, the blue line here you see are the scores. And where is John Doe? John Doe's line is the red line. 462, he qualifies, right? He qualifies. In all the rounds of the CEC invitations in 2021, starting at the year was 461. At the end of the year, the last time they had a draw was in September 2021. CEC has not had any draws since September 2021. A lot of people are complaining. If you go on the Twitter account under IRCC, every time IRCC posts anything, there's some people saying, what about the CEC draw? What about the relatives opening for 2022? Yes, a lot of people are waiting for the CEC to issue invitations again. They haven't done this since September. So we can only rely on last year's number. If John Doe really scored 462, yes, he definitely qualifies, right? So that's my first example for young people. You can see right off the bat, yes, Canada welcomes young people. The second case, let's say Jane. Jane is 41 years old. She's married. Oh, by the way, there's a difference between married were not married because the scores aligned is different. She had a bachelor's degree from Singapore. She has 10 years experience as a program engineer. In the recent 5 years, she's also at a senior management level. But the whole job experience was in Singapore. She'd never been in Canada. She has no Canada connection. So with her qualification, what score can she get in the express entry? 271. 271. What does 271 means? Can she qualify for federal skilled workers? Can she qualify? And this is the chart I have prepared to show Jane if she can qualify. The thing about federal skilled workers is in the whole of 2021, there has not been any invitation issued. So the only thing I can rely on is the scores that was in 2020. Where can I find 271? Nowhere. Nowhere. In 2020, all the scores about 470. So Jane would not qualify at all. Jane would not qualify at all. She only scored 271, so there's no way she can qualify for this. So how do I improve her situation if she really wants to come to Canada? How can I improve? The first thing she can consider is something called LMIA. It's called Labor Market Impact Assessment. It's one of the Canadian government's agency that gives you an endorsement on your job offer. If you have a job offer, it's been endorsed by LMIA, then your job offer could be worth anywhere from 50 to, actually it's either 50 or 200. Well, Jane has been a senior manager, so she had worked as a vice president, and her job offer is also in a management position. So her job offer would give her 200 bonus points. Would give her 200 bonus points. Remember, she was at 271, and now she is at 471. Her score is 471. So where can she find in 471? You can find her on the map now. Okay, the difference between the 200 point and 50 point is on the skill level. If she had no job experience in the management, in the senior management position, just as an engineer, she can only get 50 points. So this is what I mean by if she she has no vice president experience. If her offer, she maybe have worked for vice president, but her job offer here in Canada is only hiring her on her technical background, on her program engineer background, and without any management position. What if the job offer is only that? Well, then she can only get 50 points, as I explained in the previous slide. If she cannot get 471, what can she do? Sorry, the slide is behind me. It's a little slow. But anyway, if she only gets 50 points, 271 plus 50, no, she wouldn't qualify. Okay? I have some animations in here. It really slows down my slide, but I cannot press too fast. Then I will lose my place. Yes, my math is right. 321, we couldn't find her on the map. Everything is above 470. So 321, she would not qualify. If she only get an offer for her software engineer position without any management duties, then she couldn't use the LMIA as a way to improve her scores. But she can improve by something called PNP, Provincial Nominee Program. Canada's unique immigration policy is Canada federal government and the provincial government divided their duties. The province, Canada is so big, right? Canada has 13 provinces and territories. Each province and territories have something different that they need. So the province can have, the federal government give the provinces the right to choose what they call nominate the candidates that you want. So through the provincial nominee program, if you get approved by provincial nominee program, Jane can get a bonus point of 600. So a provincial nominee is worth 600 points. How was she before? 271, right? So 271, now she's at what? 871. And where would this score put her on the CRS score? Provincial nominee program round of invitation in 2021. Here's the chart. And it's all above 700, but hey, don't worry about it because Jane had scored where? 800, above 800, 821. So she's way out there. She's off the chart. She definitely gets selected. She definitely gets selected. So that's another way to improve your score by applying to the province first. As I said, provincial nominee program, there's lots of them. Some of the most sought after ones are Ontario nominee program. Saskatchewan has skilled workers nomination program. One of the sponsors here today is New Brunswick. New Brunswick has a very, very good nomination program. And it also, New Brunswick is also part of the Atlantic immigration program. So you can go through the Atlantic program as well. All the provinces, I've only listed a few, but I think only one out of the 13 does not have its own provincial nominee program. All the other 12 provinces and territories do. Okay, so if you already have a job offer, you know which province you're going to, research on that province's nomination program. It'll give you 600 points. It'll put you ahead of everybody else, and you definitely get selected. These are some of the examples I have listed here for Saskatchewan, for example. What do they need? New Brunswick's program is very similar to that LIMIA endorse. It's very similar. So it has a specific stream for skilled workers stream. So it's if you get a job offer to work in New Brunswick, definitely look this up. Definitely look this up. Okay, now that's a lot about immigration. What about those people who said, I only want to come here to work? I'm not thinking about immigration yet. I've come here to work. There's something called Global Talent Stream. Honestly, most people who ask me about Global Talent Stream are employers. Companies who are looking to hire talents, but they cannot find such person in Canada. And they can bring in global talent. They can bring in foreigners to fill the job positions. So there are more employers asking me about the Global Talent Stream than there are candidates. They are employees. This is not an immigration program. It's a work visa program. The benefit of it, the most unique feature about it, it's fast. Okay, it's very fast. The LIMIA approval, the regular program LIMIA approval, take 8 weeks. 8 weeks. But this one, the Global Talent Stream, takes 10 days. There's not a lot of programs in Canada. The processing time is counted by days, but this one is. It's officially posted on the ESDC website. The LIMIA approval is 10 days. It's employer-driven, which means the employer has to initiate the application, not the employee. The employer has to say, I need somebody to fill this position. I've tried my best to hire in Canada. I couldn't do that, but this job needs to be filled. I need to bring in some foreign talent. Then you can apply. The employer can apply. The benefit of it is predictable. It's very unique and very specialized. You know exactly who you're dealing with. You know exactly what talent you're bringing in. You're not casting a net. You have selected someone. So this is very specific. I'll give you some examples. They're mostly, most of the employers who approach this program are in the IT industry. Like I've listed the current, I just downloaded this from the website last Friday. Just look at the job titles: information system analyst, database analyst, data administrators, software engineers, computer network technicians, information testing technicians. It's mostly in IT. Even in the media, in some media, digital media designer is also one of the IT technical person. So it's these people, these occupations that would qualify for the Global Talent Stream. There are still some other qualifications. These jobs are mostly designed this program is mostly designed for employers to improve, to innovate, to elevate, to improve their condition, not to maintain their average daily business, is to make the business higher and better and faster and all of that. So if you don't see any improvement with this job offer, you probably want to come to talk to me before you submit your application. But how does it benefit the employees? The employees say this benefits the employer. They can hire somebody. But how does it benefit me? First of all, it's fast. You go through the normal process. It takes months and then a few months to apply for your work visa. But if you go through the global talent stream, it's super fast. It's super fast. The last time I had an employee applying for this, he was shocked by how fast it was. He said, I'm not even prepared yet. I thought it was going to take months. I said, I told you it counts by days, right? It's really fast. And also, once you are here, you can start earning your Canadian experience. Like I said, you may qualify for federal skilled workers, but if you do have 1 year of work experience in Canada, you would also qualify for Canadian experience class. If you remember the chart I have presented earlier, the Canadian experience class typically have a lower benchmark, 462, remember, instead of 480 something, right? So if you have earned some Canadian experience, that's benefit for you. And also the LEMIA endorsement will give you bonus point, minimum 50 points of bonus point, right? So it'll improve your chance if you ever want to consider Canadian immigration application. It's definitely a benefit for you to have it. So most people ask me, how do I do it yourself? Well, I'm a consultant. I wish you would hire me, okay? But you don't have to. Honestly, if you qualify for the federal skilled workers, your English has to be so good or your French has to be so good, you definitely will understand the process. At least you understand. You may not have the experience as I do, but you should definitely understand the guide. You should definitely understand the check mark. You should definitely understand where to send your application, what to do, and all that. So federal skilled workers and CAC is the case I see the most of do it yourself. I cannot guide you if you're doing yourself because I'm liable, so I don't want to guide you unless you retain me. But I do seminars periodically like this and give you some insight on how do you do this. We're on the Chinese use WeChat. In English, we use LinkedIn, and we also have a website. So if you follow us, you may get to pick up some tips. And also, I know a lot of you join different groups on Facebook. We're not on Facebook, but I watch that a lot of the groups on the Facebook. There's some pretty good advice as well. So federal skilled workers and CEC, yes, you can do it yourself if you really want to, but do your homework. Okay, really understand what's been asked, and you cannot assume. If you're not sure, hire a consultant on hourly basis, and just to answer the specific question, you say, I have the whole package prepared, but I just don't know how to handle this specific question. I want to do it myself. I don't want to spend the money. That's totally fine. But can you please spend an hour, on this specific question and guide me how to do that? There's some consultants who like to do that. So if you want to do it yourself and still hire a professional, so you can do it that way. There's some lawyers who do that as well. But overall, it may not cost you much less because none of the professionals would like to give you an answer based on a question. We most likely would like to know all your background, so our answers would be professional, would be reasonable. Okay, you can't just say, is this English test score big enough, good enough for me? Well, on itself, it may be that you get 8777, it may be good, but I don't know your other qualifications. So I can only understand your language ability, but I don't know if this will qualify you for the program that you apply. So I cannot answer all of the questions. So if you are not sure on a lot of points, I suggest you hire a professional. You can reach us on WeChat, on LinkedIn, or on website. We're undergoing some migration of our website. So we actually have 2 websites now. So you will see pretty soon we'll be moving completely to our new website. And this is my phone number. I'm at this phone number, but I muted it, so I cannot answer your call as we are on here. But if you call me and leave a message, I'll be more than happy to reply you. Last time I did the seminar, within the next, I think 4 or 5 hours, I kept returning calls and emails. It's overwhelming. I really appreciate so many people are looking to immigrate to Canada, but it really takes time for me to answer you. So that's pretty much wraps up my presentation. I'm open for questions.
That was really, really helpful. And Kathy, we have some really good questions here right now.
Sure.
So let's get through those. Let me just make everything organized here. Okay. So the first question I have is, does having children increase or decrease my chances of selection?
Children do not get any scores, and it's not an increase or decrease. We love children. We love children, but they don't get bonus points.
This one I found really interesting and really specific. So some countries, embassies, or consulates have a backlog with work permits, some close to a year. Prospective employers, of course, can't wait for 52 weeks. This is a problem in Kenya. How can immigration consultants assist me with this program, for this problem?
Without commenting on the specific case, I know there's some countries that really have a serious backlog. The IRCC website has recently changed their case processing. There is a place where you can check the case processing speed. It asks you to answer specifically which country you're applying from. So that is a good indicator. They have changed that to a new format. I haven't checked it out yet. I think it just came out 2 days ago. But you really cannot submit your application in a different jurisdiction unless you have a long-term work visa. For example, you're in Kenya. You cannot submit your application in Hong Kong unless you have a long-term work visa in Hong Kong. You say, I'm living in Hong Kong. I'm originally from Kenya, but I'm currently living in Hong Kong on a long-term work visa. So I want to apply in Hong Kong. Then you can do it. Otherwise, you can't. Of course, you can also try to see if you qualify for that global talent stream. If you do, that's a fast tracker.
Great, thank you, Kathy. And we're getting one question a lot. I think there's a little bit of confusion because we had, we discussed New Brunswick in this presentation, and we have New Brunswick as a co-host. People are asking if this webinar can be used as a declaration of interest. I just want to let you know it cannot. In fact, no webinars at all can be used for a declaration of interest, okay? The New Brunswick stopped doing that a few years ago. I know it's a bit of a misconception, but I just wanted to clear the air. Okay, here's another question. Canadian job websites seem not to have separate sections for foreigners. The only way to understand if the employer accepts a job seeker from abroad is to send hundreds of CVs hoping that there will be 1 out of 500 who is willing to deal with LMIA, WP, etc. burden. It is an exception. Am I right? Is it that complicated?
That's a very good question. I think GTAC can probably answer that question better than I can. I get asked a lot of helping employees. Employees, when they get a job offer, they say, yes, the employer is willing to hire me, but they're not willing to go through the LEMIA process. Yes, it's a very big headache, especially the employers who have never dealt with ESDC before. It is a little hard for them to do that because it's completely not their professional. That's where I can help. So my advice is, if you first of all, I'm sure some of the employers out there would list you have to be able to legally work in Canada. You're either citizen or PR, your open work permit. If they specifically said that, I would say they're less likely to help you. For those employers who had not specifically said yes or no, you have a chance. And also, you can always have in your back pocket and say, hey, I have a consultant who's really willing to help me. If you want to hire me, I can hire Cassie to help me with the LEMIA application. Usually, this should be the cost on the employer, but you can negotiate with your employer to include it in your compensation package or something.
Yeah, and on that note, really, we know what fields are in demand, and there are lists of companies that have used the global talent stream in the past. You can find that on our government website. Also, not all companies are eligible for the global talent stream. They have to make a certain amount of revenue. They have to be of a certain size. All those resources are available online. So maybe you won't have to send up 500 resumes if you do the research on what companies are eligible for that and what jobs are in demand. So that's just a bit of that feedback. That's a funny question. So global talent stream is available for all nationalities, or is there some specific country employers can request when they apply for international candidates?
Good question. I don't think it's specific for any country or vice versa. I think this is employer driven. The employer says, I am IT industry. I'm in IT industry. I have some innovation project that I'm doing. I need to hire global talents. I cannot find any suitable candidates here in Canada. So they would apply to be qualified. There are two separate streams. One is they pre-qualify themselves. So once they get endorsed by the government assigned referral companies, they get endorsed, then they're on the fast track of getting approved. Alternatively, they can be in the category B, which means they have already identified a candidate they want to hire. Then they apply for the LIMIA, under global talent stream. Either way, like you said, the company has to have some pre-qualification they have to do, which industry they are, the revenue, the years of in business, why are they hiring, which position, which occupation, all of that. I think it's a conversation once you pretty much have an offer in your pocket. It's not a conversation. You can do the research. I haven't seen any company when they're hiring say, oh, we have GTS available for you. I haven't seen any of those. No, it's really hard to do the research on that. But you can do the research on global talent stream and understand what it is. Then you can compare with the job duties out there and research on the company and see if there is likely a match. If absolutely no, then you may not want to apply.
Yeah. This question was asked in French, but it's a really great question, so I'm going to translate it.
Okay.
This question is about proof of funds. So this job seeker would like to immigrate to Canada, but he's currently changing his country of residence because of a marriage. So let me just translate it first. And they are already in the express entry pool. He's wondering if he can keep his proof of funds in his current bank, or if he has to change it to a bank that's in his future country of residence.
Very good question. I have never seen such a request from immigration specify that which country your proof of funds has to come from. They only care about the funds are in your possession, which means the account has to be under your name. It has to meet their level. When you're a single person, don't quote me, check on the website. I think when you're a single person, I think the minimum you must have under your possession is roughly around 13,000 Canadian. But if you're married, that number could change. So they care about the number and they care about this fund is yours, it's under your name. But there's no requirement of which country is it from. For example, between Canada and US, we would accept your proof of fund if it's in a Canadian bank or in a US fund. I have never seen immigration officer asking it has
really
to
good
be.
Question.
Yeah, it's really challenging. I can research on that, and if you don't mind, get in touch with me. I can find out later. But I've never seen a case. I still have fresh memory because I just dealt with a proof of fund case last week. I was reading through the requirement. I don't recall the requirement is from a specific country. It's only about it's under your possession, it's genuine, it's really your money, and it meets the minimum amount.
Great.
I hope that helps.
I think that does help. Is it necessary to have IELTS to be sure to be extracted, even if I have 506 points?
Say it again. The IELTS is what?
I believe it's the IELTS?
Yeah, it's a language test in English.
Yeah. Do I need to have that even if I have 506 points?
How do you demonstrate? You have to have that. It's mandatory because
Okay.
you cannot say, oh, I estimated my English to be very good, so I give myself this mark. No, you have to have proof that you're really this good.
Do you expect new Ukraine refugee program to significantly influence processes and numbers for the rest of the immigration programs in 2022?
Holy, excuse me. I think that's a question
For the
for
government.
Sean Fraser. I think that's a question for our minister. I hope not. There has been some delay when the refugee program for the Afghanistan people was opening up. The major slowdown was in answering the calls. I think the regular processing was still going on, but the communication was completely cut off. If I have to call the immigration, I have to get up early in the morning and dial exactly at 8 o'clock. Even if I tried at 8:05, I may not be able to get in. The rest of the day is not possible. Right now, it's the same case. I think the whole department is working on a normal pace. They have designated people to help with the Ukrainian situation. I don't think it has a significant impact, but the communication really is slowing down because they can only have certain people answering phone calls and answering your web forms. So it feels it has slowed down. It definitely have that feeling. But based on my caseload, I have seen them picking up the pace actually. They have all gone back to work at the first week of March. I have seen a lot of communication from them coming to me and say, hey, you got landing paper 2 years ago. Do you still want to come? Because of the pandemic, all the landing paper had expired. Do you want me to issue a new one? Some of the additional documents say, hey, do you still want to come? Give me that additional document I want. In the past month, I've seen the pace being picked up rather than getting slowed down.
Great. That's fantastic. I've seen this question pop up a few times. When do you expect FSW draws will return?
Good one. Are you asking about CEC or FSW? Well, they're both really tough. That's a question for our minister, Sean Fraser. I asked him the same thing on Twitter, but I guess he only tweets, he doesn't reply. We're all looking for that. With the border opening, I would say pretty fast. Because the last 2 years it was all because of the pandemic, right? Even if they did issue you, they process you, you can't come anyways. And they were trying to get everybody who's already in Canada all settled down, all become immigrants. So that was the priority. This priority has shifted. The minister had given several speeches earlier this year that he will reopen. Yes.
So we are coming close to the end of this presentation, but I had one question. I have time for one more question, I think. This viewer is thanking you for the information, and they're wondering what is the duration between being selected from a province and the federal step?
Being selected. Okay, that's an interesting word. Being selected, if you mean nomination, because when you're selected by the province, they have a pool there too. You enter the pool, they select you. Then if you're talking about nomination, they give you a nomination certificate, say, we selected you, please come to us. Then you can submit your application. There are two ways you can do this. One, you can submit the immigration application and just wait. The other one is you can get a work visa right away and then come first. Actually, I think most of the program would support you to apply for a work permit. Some provinces even require you to do that within the next 3 months or 6 months. For example, in British Columbia, if you get nominated, you have a job offer, then you're supposed to come. Look at the nomination letter and the support letter. If it requires you to apply for a to apply for a work visa, you should do that within the time frame. Then you can come to Canada sooner. You don't have to wait for your landing paper. You can wait for that while in Canada. If it's not absolutely required, then it's up to you. You can come, they'll support you, or you don't. But also bear in mind, if you have a job offer, your employer needs you right away. So you're supposed to come.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That was a super informative presentation. We had some really good questions there. I want to give you an opportunity to let people know where they should connect with you next. And thank you again. It was really, really great.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Good luck, everyone.
Bye, Kathy.
Bye.